Welcome to the twice-monthly meeting of Westminster's Mayor and Common Council. During the public health crisis, we will be conducting our meetings remotely, and they will be available and streamed live on the city's Facebook page, as well as the Community Media Center channel and website. We'll begin as we do every meeting with the pledge to the flag, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Copies of tonight's agenda and the entire information packet that the council will be using are available online on the city's website, and you can download them there. And we will move on now to the first item on our agenda, which is the approval of minutes. We have minutes from the Mayor and Common Council meeting on September 14th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes, Mr. President.
All right, there's a motion from Mr. Cavacci and a second from Ms. Gilbert. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. I seem to have it, and the ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is our presentations. We have one presentation this evening, and it's on the Bee City USA program by Kate Fisher of the Carroll County Beekeepers Association. Ms. Fisher, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having us. Give us one moment. We're going to share our screen. All right. So we've got a pretty hearty presentation here, but we're going to keep it short and sweet. We'll make sure that the council has this to refer to later if they need to, but we just wanted to thank you for allowing us to come here today to talk about the Bee City USA program and possibly putting Westminster on the map with pollinators. The reason why we wanted to come to Westminster is because we feel like this program is kind of in line with a lot of the other forward-thinking, environmentally friendly initiatives that Westminster has been part of. Here we've just got a couple pollinator fast facts. We won't read these to you, but just given some pretty quick snippets of the importance of pollinators, and not just honeybees, but all sorts of pollinators. Oh, and we will spare you our delivery of our joke telling, but we have heard tale that the city council has had a little bit of fun with bee puns since we asked to be able to present this. So we have included some ridiculous bee jokes in this presentation for your reference and later use.
Thank you.
Yes, we have definitely had a good time with a lot of bee jokes for sure.
We'll give you some new material.
It's been quite the buzz for us.
So, yes.
Well, Bee City really is about bringing pollinator conservation from a global movement to a local one. So this really gives us the platform to make a real impact for our conservation. You know, it's really another way to put Westminster on the map too. You know, my name is Monica Schmidt. I'm the Vice President of Carroll County Beekeepers Association, and I'm a beekeeper, so I could talk bees all night. But we're not here just to talk about bees. We're here to talk about all pollinators and creating safe habitats and community involvement through Bee City USA.
And I'm Kate Fisher. I'm a member of the Carroll County Beekeepers Association. Our club's been around since 1983. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we have a pretty robust program and offer a lot of supportive services, not only to our club members, but also to the public. It's not a requirement to be a club member to be on our Facebook page. So we support people who are supporting pollinators however we can. The Bee City USA program has been around since 2012. It was started as its own program in Asheville, North Carolina, and it's since been adopted by the Xerces Society, which is a national society that protects pollinators. And so far, There's 141 cities and counting that are registered Bee City USA participants.
And as you know, the talk of pollinator decline has been a hot topic. So Bee City USA was formed to really create awareness and make a difference. So I really felt that Westminster could really make a difference locally. The really neat thing about the program is that it's an open source model. So we can really work with what we have. We don't have to invest a lot of money into building these victory gardens. Pollinators don't need victory gardens. They just need habitat to be able to reproduce and forage and thrive in the community. Really, the process is just 6 simple steps. What we're going to need to do is form a Bee City committee and then approach different organizations within the community, like the local schools and the library. And then what we'll end up doing is developing a proposal to come back to you with our set of commitments that we've developed and our goals of habitats and who's going to take care of those habitats. And then we'll be able to apply for the Bee City. And once we're established as a Bee City, then the Bee City Committee oversees the habitats that they're being maintained, and we'll make sure that we retain the Bee City status. And really what we're going to need to do is just create a set of commitments, and what that would define is how we already are protecting pollinators and what kind of steps we're going to do to create within the community pollinator awareness, and as a city ways to protect pollinators.
And this is just where there's a lot of collaboration between city government, community organizations, and the public. There is a cost associated with the Bee City certification. It is a very nominal fee because that it basically funds administrative costs for the Bee City program to be able to continue to create awareness and to encourage other communities to participate in the program. And the fee is based on population size. So when I looked it up, I believe Westminster falls in this 10,000 to 25,000 range. So it would be a $200 application fee and then $200 renewal fee. And that fee could be offset through the sales of yard signs for homes that are participating, as well as any other promotional items that could be created and sold as part of this initiative.
And really what we're going to need from the city is a liaison who communicates with the Bee City Committee and talks back to the city and make sure that everything is being handled the right way to maintain our Bee City status. The one thing is that the city staff does not have to be on the committee, but a little bee told me that there's a few city staff members that are beekeepers. So hopefully that we can get them to join this movement. Really, so some of the other duties as a Bee City, it's not just the community and local involvement. It's also steps as a city government to look at ways that they can implement pollinator protection practices. So, you know, as an example, like roadside repair and construction have a pollinator impact and restoration plan in place to help really make an impact citywide. And in these photos right here are from around Westminster that we took throughout the season this year. So just to see how the city really is taking some steps to keep the city pretty and feed our pollinators at the same time.
There's a plethora of benefits to the community from participating in a program like this, but one of the best things about this, especially for a town like Westminster who puts so much into promoting local businesses, it's a really great opportunity for those local businesses to get engaged, to take action, whether that's that they have a space near their business where they can plant their own garden, or if we have contractors who through the course of their work are able to implement pollinator friendly practices. Like that's where, you know, we talked about yard signs possibly for homes, but there could even be, decals, pollinator-friendly business decals or window clings that we do to engage those local businesses in being part of this and to promote them as well.
There's a lot of opportunities within the community to be involved with the community. We could do local native plantings, do presentations for schools, and we already volunteer at a lot of different community events like Fall Fest and where we promote pollinator awareness. So we can do a large range of continued outreach. Also, there's a lot of volunteer opportunities. This is a big one with Bee City that they really love to boast about is school kids. A lot of school kids need volunteer time to be able to graduate. Bee City creates a lot of opportunities of protecting the habitats, maintaining the habitats, building habitats, and this gives opportunities for school kids to get hours for credit. It's also a great way to get like the Boys and Girls Club involved in different foster programs. It's a real good way for kids to get involved in the and with positive community activities, and it makes them feel good that they're doing something good.
We talked a little bit about signage with the certification. A lot of cities like to proudly display the Bee City USA logo. We have a poster behind us that says "Be the next reason," or "Be the reason Westminster, Maryland becomes the next Bee City." Signage that is welcoming and lets people know that the community is interested in protecting pollinators. Pollinator decline is a frequent topic on the news, so it shows that this is a community that is aware and is interested in taking the steps they can. And one of the ideas that we really love and would love to see come to fruition is the creation and use of those yard signs where individual households, if they are allowing the dandelions to grow in their yard, or they're mowing their lawn just a little bit less, or not using even just like a drastic reduction in lawn chemicals, whatever steps they're taking, if it would be fantastic if Westminster were to be a Bee City to have a place on the website where those households could go and sign a pollinator pledge, commit to being part of the program, and then display that with the yard sign. Right now, we know that Westminster is enthusiastic. We've got a lot of political yard signage going on, but soon all that's going to be coming down, and it'd be great to see, some friendly neighborhood competition where people can't wait to be the next one on their street that are part of the pollinator program.
And right here are just a couple of links for you guys to use as for your reference. Our Carroll County Beekeeper site, and definitely the Bee City USA. Please check that out. And pollinator.org. Those sites have great resources for different opportunities we have to be able to get the community and small business in the city involved together, all working together for pollinators. And we have a few more here too. And these are just the current cities in Maryland that are already Bee Cities. There's 6 of them. So let's see if we can make Westminster number 7. And this is just to be able to get in contact with us. Feel free to email us at Carroll Beekeepers, or my contact, which is Monica Schmidt at the Little Bit Mo, and Kate Fisher is her Kate Fisher 13 Gmail.
And that concludes what we have for you this evening. So do you have any questions for us?
All right. Well, Ms. Schmidt and Ms. Fisher, thank you very much for sharing that with us. All the jokes that we've been making aside over the last couple of weeks, certainly is a serious topic. There's a real need to do what we can to improve the situation for the pollinators, because it is becoming a problem in some parts of the country, and I think a lot of people recognize that. If you'll make sure that you send us that presentation to our city clerk, she can distribute it to everybody, and we'll have access to all the links, and we'll be able to have some discussion about this and see where we go with it. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us again tonight. Oh, Mr. Cavacci.
No question, just a quick comment. Thank you very much, ladies. I think based on the individual conversations we had over the past couple of weeks, I think everyone is probably enthusiastic about this, and I suspect that it's something we're gonna want to move forward with. So thank you for your time. I think it'll be well worth it.
Thank you
That's
for
very
having us.
exciting. Thank you.
And
Mr.
is
President.
the city clerk you referenced, is that Shannon?
Yes,
It is Shannon, that's right.
Does
Ms.
she have it?
Wiskoski.
If you please send it to Ms. Fasowski, that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
President.
Mr. Dayhoff.
Yes, I think it'll work really well with our Tree City status also. And then I believe Ann and I are going to try and bring up the Sustainable Communities Initiative also. So I think it all works out really well together. So I guess I can get together with Ms. Fisher and Ms. Schmidt about, I guess we need to come forward with a resolution.
Mhm.
Okay. And do
Well,
you have yard signs, Dale?
why don't we, Mr. Dayhoff, why don't we go ahead and have some conversation about this before
Okay.
you start making any commitments,
Okay.
and we will, and then we'll be able to move forward.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank
you.
you guys. Have a
Sure.
fantastic night.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much. All right. So we'll move on now to the next item on our agenda, which is the consent calendar. We have one item on the agenda. Is there a motion for approval of the consent calendar?
I make
So
a motion
moved.
to approve. Second.
Well, I think Ms. Gilbert, you were in first. So motion by Ms. Gilbert and second by Mr. Dayhoff to approve the consent calendar. And without objection, the consent calendar is approved. How about if we do it that way? It's easier than having to vote on these things.
Looks sounds.
Next item is report from the mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. The only thing that I have today, which I don't know if we were going to discuss this in the COVID-19 update, but I wanted to address Halloween. Is this the appropriate time to do that, Mr. President?
Sure. I think that'd be fine.
Yeah, so we've gotten questions about whether or not Halloween is still on. There's nothing about Halloween that we can tell that is that goes against any of the governor's mandates and restrictions. So we hope everyone's going to be safe for Halloween. We encourage everyone to socially distance and be creative about how you hand out candy and not go trick or treating if you or someone in your house has been sick. But trick or treating is an outdoor activity and it is still on. So it was never off or discussed to be off. But I just wanted to make an announcement because we are getting questions about that, and I do think some municipalities and neighborhoods and things like that have put some restrictions in, but we just ask everyone to be safe and follow the governor's protocols. That's it, Mr. President. Thank you.
Very good. Good advice. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I heartily agree with that. And I don't think we had anything else on our pandemic update. Did we, Ms. Matthews?
We did not, President Pecoraro.
All right, thank you very much. So we'll move on to reports from standing committees. Mr. Dayhoff, anything for the Arts Council tonight?
No report this evening, Mr. President. Everything's just buzzing right along.
I have a feeling we're going to hear a lot of that tonight. Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Economic and Community Development Committee, Mr. Yingling is unfortunately not with us this evening, so we'll move on. Finance Committee, nothing to report except just to say welcome to our new Westminster City Finance Director, Lydia Colston, who is with us tonight, and we're very pleased to have her on board. Personnel Committee, Ms. Gilbert.
Well, we are being quite active with trying to finish up our choices for the HR director. And other than that, that's about it.
Thank you very much. Public Safety Committee, Mr. Cavacci.
Mr. President, we have no stings or any other police activities going on, so no report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Cavacci. Public Works Committee, again, Mr. Yingling could not be with us tonight, so we will pass on that one as well. And Recreation and Parks Committee, Mr. Dayhoff. I'm sorry, you're muted, Mr. Dayhoff.
That'll be no report, sir.
All right, thank you very much. So we'll move on now to the next item, which is council comments and discussion. See if anybody has anything outside the regular committee reports that they'd like to share. Mr. Cavacci, anything from you? All right, thank you, Mr. Cavacci. I'll take that as a no. Mr. Dayhoff.
No, thank you. Not this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Ms. Gilbert.
Yes, I actually do. I wanted to introduce the Westminster at Midnight COVID edition. We will be starting that on November the 5th and 6th. This event will be the first Thursday and Friday of every month from November forward. The businesses of downtown Westminster will be encouraged to stay open until at least 8 p.m. on those days. We will be promoting Westminster at Midnight COVID edition on our downtown Westminster Facebook page and the business to business Facebook page. We are also hoping to create a page with the event and all its details on our city's website. Hint, hint, Mayor. A thank you. I would like to send out a thank you to Tiambi Page, Brooke Haggerty, and Susan Nardez, as they were quite instrumental in how we approached this event given COVID and its effects on all of our city events this year so far. This event, our Westminster at Midnight COVID edition, will continue into next year. And that's about all I have for it for right now.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Next item are bids. We have two bids this evening. The first is an award of contract for the Cranberry Reservoir Water Quality Study. Mr. Glass.
Yes, sir. The current capital projects for the water fund budget includes funding in the amount of $250,000, which is earmarked for new water sources. As you know, the primary focus for this funding is the city's reuse pilot project, and of course, all the associated tasks that go along with it, constructional costs for our consultants and further work on the pilot, and et cetera, et cetera. One of the requirements associated with the pilot is a water quality study for the Cranberry Reservoir to determine effects of blending this highly treated reuse water with the reservoir feed water. The Maryland Department of the Environment included this requirement in response to an earlier technical memorandum that we submitted in the discussion for the Water Reuse Initiative. And since we recently found that we were notified of the grant award from the Bureau of Reclamation, because that provides some additional funding for the project, we wanted to move forward with this study. So in anticipation of the grant award, the city and Wildtech Engineering, our consultant, did some research, and we had identified some credential firms that were capable to perform the study just in advance of the actual award letter that we got. The summary of the proposals are the first is from Medora, or Solar Bee is the name of the company. The lead person is Mr. Steve Sanders, and their proposal is in the amount of $9,400. The second firm is Dr. Sierran Harmon, and he's with Johns Hopkins University, and his proposal amount is $35,802. Now, the approaches of each firm are similar in terms of the modeling and blending dynamics. However, the approach submitted by Johns Hopkins included an extensive water quality component, which is really necessary to determine the level of eutrophication that was requested by MDE. The Hopkins study will be conducted over a 2.5-year period, and it is our belief that this should answer any questions and limit the potential regulatory review comments from MDE after its submission. I mentioned earlier that the project funding is in the amount of $250,000 earmarked as new water sources. So at this point, the recommendation would be that for this, the staff would recommend the Mayor and Common Council to accept the proposal of Dr. Sierran Harmon of Johns Hopkins University in the amount of $35,802 for the Cranberry Reservoir study. It's further detailed in the attached documentation, and of course authorize the mayor's execution of the associated contract. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Glass. So I take it that what you're saying is that the Hopkins proposal was, even though it's considerably more expensive, is more on point to what the city needs to do to be able to satisfy MDE's requirements. Is that the case?
That's correct. The both proposals speak to the mixing dynamics, but the Hopkins proposal goes into again the testing and eutrophication portion of the work that that was not included in the cheaper study, or I shouldn't say cheaper, less expensive study from Medora.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Glass?
Mr.
All right,
President, I don't have a
motion
question,
on
but
the,
I'll go ahead and make a motion.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cavacci. So there's a motion to accept the bid. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And just to be
There's a
clear,
second
Mr.
from
President,
Mr. Dayhoff.
my motion is for the Hopkins study, the 35802.
Right, for the staff, for the staff recommendation.
Yes, sir.
All right, so Mr. Cavacci's motion is to accept the staff recommendation to accept the Hopkins bid. There's a second from Mr. Dayhoff. Is there any further discussion or any additional questions from Mr. Glass? Hearing none, we will move on to a vote. All those in favor of the award to the Johns Hopkins University signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. The opinion of the chair, the ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it. And the bid is awarded to Johns Hopkins University.
Thank you.
And let's see, thank you. And the second, I'm sorry, scroll back up here. The second bid tonight is approval of a sole source procurement of Mitel phone system replacement, and Mr. Holmes is going to discuss that for us on behalf of Mr. Davidson. Mr. Holmes.
Yes, thank you very much. The staff here at the Technology Department for the City of Westminster is here for get the approval for the sole source procurement of the Mitel phone system. The fiscal year 2021 budget allocates funding in the amount of $25,000 for the replacement and upgrade of the city's current Mitel phone system, which is reaching its end of life at 10 years old. The staff initially envisioned a wholesale replacement of the city's phone system, keeping the phone system on premises for the approximate cost of around $250,000. Once staff started doing more research into different phone systems, we were brought information about a cloud-hosted VoIP system that would actually save the city quite a bit of money, and it would actually be able to take our current Mitel licenses, maintenance contracts, and everything, and actually virtualize them into the cloud and let the city keep control of those licenses. That proposal was brought forth by VoIP Networks out of New York, and they actually run 2 data centers in the Mid-Atlantic region that would host our virtualization of our phone system, therefore being redundant. This would give us the ability to have a fully mobile phone system, as long as there is a internet connection. We will not be tied to anything here at our headquarters or DR location. And especially during this COVID pandemic, people would be able to use their phones, actually work from home, instead of having to rely on cell phones or current home phone situations. The proposal from VoIP Networks, it actually came out to, for the cost of the implementation, came out to $11,950. And that is for the virtualization, service, and maintenance of the city's current phone system. So staff recommends that the Mayor and Common Council approve the sole source procurement of the replacement Mitel phone system from VoIP Networks in the total amount of $11,950. And if you have any questions, I would be glad to answer them.
All right, thank you, Mr. Holmes. May I have a motion?
Make a motion that that we approve the sole source procurement of the replacement of the Mitel phone system with the VoIP Networks from New York at $11,950.
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so the motion from Ms. Gilbert and a second from Mr. Cavacci. So, Mr. Holmes, sounds like we're, instead of spending $25,000, we're going to spend a little less than $12,000. That sounds like a a pretty thrifty idea to me, and it's going to work well for us. Any other questions for Mr. Holmes?
Mr. President.
Mr. Cavacci?
So it's great that we're saving a lot of money. I think that's wonderful, and I do like the transportability. We have that actually with our phones in my business. Our employees take them home and they work anywhere. That being said, Mr. Mayor, I know that in your previous life, this was your area of expertise. I'd love to hear your take on this because frankly, it's pretty technical, and my suspicion is you probably understand exactly what we're looking at here better than any of us. Where are you at with this, Mr. Mayor?
So the last time the city made a big change here, which was when the city purchased this the current phone system, VoIP, voice over IP. I don't want to say it's new, but it was at that point just beginning to start being like universally adopted as the standard. It wasn't quite ready yet, in my opinion, for a lot of large organizations. And this is a like a cloud hosted phone system essentially. So what they're doing is they're taking the handsets that when you think of the phone system, you think of the phone on your desk, but they go back to like a main unit that's the house somewhere in 56 West Main, and then everything's kind of ran from there. What's happening is that unit is now a piece of software on a virtual switch somewhere in a data center, like Matt said, Mr. Holmes said. And there's redundancy, so it's actually safer. It's more redundant. It usually gives you some options in terms of extra functionality, although the system we had was kind of a hybrid and probably had all the functionality already. But and it also means that it's not tied to one thing. So if you lose service at a location and you go somewhere else with your phone, you hook it up to the internet, you have it. As long as you have a good internet connection, that's the key. But with fiber and even high bandwidth cable connections, you usually have very good high quality you have good high voice quality, but it's the way to go. My businesses all have cloud phone systems just like yours, Mr. Cavacci. It costs less money, and it's better in just about every way.
All right, well, Mr. Mayor, thank you for that explanation. Any other questions or comments on this? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of awarding the sole source procurement of Mitel phone system for the Mitel phone system replacement, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Opinion of the chair, the ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it. And the bid is awarded. Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Appreciate it. And thank you, Mr. Davidson, for us.
Thank you very much.
Next on the agenda, we have two ordinances and resolutions tonight. The first is for introduction of ordinance number 927, an ordinance amending Chapter 64, zoning of the Code of the City of Westminster, Article 9A, Historic District Zone, Section 164-51.3, creation and composition of Historic District Commission, appointment and term of members, vacancies, to alter the terms and composition of the Historic District Commission and to modify its powers. And for that, we will have Mr. Depot and Mr. Gray. And who would like to go first?
Thank you. I'm going to have Andrew present this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Depot.
Right.
Good evening, Mayor Dominic, President Pecoraro, and Common Council members. I would like to provide a brief summary of the city staff memorandum dated September 21st, 2020. Over the course of 2020, your Historic District Commission has been reviewing and updating their rules of order and procedure. A copy has been provided as an attachment to the staff report. The zoning ordinance will need to be amended to allow the rules to be consistent with the ordinance. Therefore, the amendments being introduced tonight with ordinance number 927 include, number one, a change to section 2A in order to provide that the commission will consist of 5 regular members and 1 alternate. This change would conflict with the current requirement of the zoning ordinance in section 164-51.3, that the commission consists of 7 regular members. Number 2, Reduce the number of commission members who must be residents of the city from 4 to 3. Number 3, allow non-resident commission members to include commercial leaseholders maintaining a physical business presence within the city. Currently, only owners of real property may be non-resident commission members. Number 4, delete the commission's right to accept and use gifts. And lastly, number 5, add an alternate commission member's obligations. Upon introduction, and if you decide to refer the proposed ordinance to your Planning and Zoning Commission, they will hold a public meeting to review the proposed text amendment and make a recommendation to this council. City staff's recommendation is staff recommends that the mayor and common council introduce proposed ordinance number 927, and following its introduction, refer it to the Planning and Zoning Commission for its review and recommendation to the mayor and common council. If anyone from the council has any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Mr. Mayor. Is
Mr.
that the
Gray,
mayor seeking? Yes.
I'm sorry?
So you were seeking, go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Gray, a couple questions. The way that's worded, it sounds like this this was driven by the commission themselves. Is that correct?
Yes. When the commission went through in 2020 to adopt their rules of order and procedure, one of the things was having 5 members and 1 alternate. So that being said, the commission drove us to have this ordinance here today to subsequently amend that ordinance for the 5 regular members and 1 alternate. And an alternate member is, for instance, a couple of years ago, the Planning and Zoning Commission had an alternate member, and the Board of Zoning Appeals also has an alternate member.
Yep, I remember. Thank you. So I guess I just would like to know what, if you have this information, if you know like what the driving, like the ideas behind some of these changes were, like the reasons for them. I can make some assumption as to why they want to make some changes, but if I might not be assuming correctly. So if there's any any information you have as to why each of these changes were kind of I get like for now I think about it, reducing the number of city residents from 4 to 3 makes some kind of sense if you're reducing the number of members. So I see that they're kind of tied together, but I guess if there's any backstory to why these changes are being suggested, I would just like as much information as you have.
Yes. And with that, let me just let me pull up. I do know, just went a little bit through the seven regular members and to 5 and 1 alternate. Right now, the commission has 6 members. There's still 1 vacancy. Then reduce the number of commission members who must be residents from the city to 4 to 3. With that, I'm just going to just to make sure I'm on page on track. I'm going to defer to Mr. Depot.
Mr. Depot?
Thank you. Again, I think it comes down to consistency with other boards and commissions we have. Holding 7 without an alternate on HPP is a little unusual when you compare it to the BZA with 5 members and planning and BZA with 3 members. I apologize. And planning commission with 5. And not having an alternate is somewhat unusual. The alternate does allow for that flexibility for replacing members. And as you mentioned, we've had or as Mr. Gray mentioned, we've had a vacancy for a while. It's just easier to fill the positions. The reduction from 7 or from 4 to 3 is just, as you said, the total number is reducing. So it made sense to reduce the number of residents. The allowing of a commercial person, that was an issue with the Historic District Commission, that right now you have to be a resident, you have to own real property. And they felt that somebody that's leasing land, somebody that's downtown as a business owner would not be afforded the ability to be on a commission that really does affect them. So they felt it was important to have that business entity as part of the HTC as well, at least opening that ability up. And that would explain why we allow for the leaseholder of a commercial leaseholder as a potential non-resident member.
I feel like I'm asking questions that are on everybody's mind. This is my last one. I guess I just wanted to, I mean, a lot of that stuff that makes sense. The only other question I have is currently, how many members do you know offhand that are on the commission that are not city residents?
I believe it is only one.
Okay, and is that the member that is moving and will no longer be on the commission?
You are correct, Mr. Mayor.
So at that point, we'll have none. Then that's all I want. That's all I had. I just wanted to get some clarification on that stuff. Thank you.
Exactly. It doesn't mean that that you're limited to 3 resident and 3. They can all be residents. It just limits how many non-resident people can be on the HTC, or it sets that as a 3 total.
Yep, understood.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, gentlemen. So to remind everybody, tonight this is just for introduction, and under the normal course of business, we would, as we do with these types of ordinances, we would refer to the Planning Commission for their review and comments, and then it would come back to us for us to do whatever the mayor and council would like to do in terms of discussion and any legislative action on it. So to move forward, I need a motion for introduction. May I have a motion?
Mr. President, I'll go ahead and move to take ordinance number 927 and introduce it, and then forward it on to the P&Z for their input after a public hearing.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cavacci. Is there a second?
I'll second that, but I do have can I follow up with a question?
Sure. So let me just get that out of the way. So it's been moved and seconded that we to introduce the ordinance. And Ms. Gilbert, do you have a question?
Yeah, I actually have the same questions that the mayor did, but I also wanted to know, was there any thought about any additional thoughts about attendance on some of the people who are members of this commission, and having some sort of I don't want to say necessarily policy, but at least a note about attending on when you're picked as part of the commission, and that their attendance is somewhat needed?
In other words, an attendance requirement.
Yeah, kind of like, to be part of the commission, you should attend at least 75% of the meetings or something to that degree.
I would agree. The hope would be that they attend at 100%. But as you know, that doesn't happen all the time. We can certainly look at adding an attendance element to it.
Yeah, because I did a little bit of research for this, and I found that there seems to be a problem with some of the members not attending. So if that seems to be an ongoing issue, I think at least somebody needs to address it.
Mr. President.
Mr. Cavacci.
So, is it okay if I speak directly to Ms. Gilbert?
Well, through me, sure.
It's weird on the Zoom thing. So, yes. Councilwoman Gilbert, I understand where you're coming from. We certainly want people coming, but a couple of comments on that. Number one, if we're going to do it for this board, then we would have to do it for all boards. And I don't believe any of the other boards have those type of requirements, not that I'm aware of at least. I think you then compound that by, these are volunteers. And frankly, in my tenure on the council, there have been times where it's been a little bit of a struggle to fill some of these positions. And I think we certainly would like all of them to attend as many meetings as possible, but I just am afraid we could be potentially turning people off if we have these stringent rules that say you must do this in terms of attendance, where you might have some very good people that might not necessarily every year after year be able to make that attendance requirement, but that doesn't mean their input isn't valued. And as you know, there are things that go on outside of the meetings in terms of communication. And I'm not talking about illegal, ex parte communications, but one-on-one communications, documents that are moved around, for people's education. So even though a member may not necessarily attend every meeting, it doesn't mean they aren't a valuable contributor to a board like that. And I just fear that if we start down this path, it could cost us good people, coupled with the fact that I do think that if we're going to do that, we've got to do it across the board with all of our boards and commissions. So that's my only comment. I do understand where you're coming from, but I just think that we might end up cutting off our nose to spite our face a little bit with that.
Right.
That's my only comment.
Right. Well, and let me just remind everybody, this is just tonight. This is just for introduction. Just for introduction. We'll have plenty of time later on, when and if it comes back to us, to be able to discuss issues like that and decide if the council wants to amend the ordinance in whatever state it comes back to us, at that time. One question did occur to me, though, as I was looking through the packet. I'm unaware, perhaps just that I have never been informed, but are other boards and commissions have this extensive a set of rules of procedure for their meetings?
Mr. President, the Board of Zoning Appeals has a set of rules and order and procedure that I believe were adopted in '93. The Planning and Zoning Commission has a set of rules of order and procedure that I believe were adopted in 2019. And the Tree Commission, we are working on a set of rules of order and procedure for the Tree Commission.
All right, thank you. That's good to know. Any other questions or comments on this before we move to a vote?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Mr. Mayor.
I did just want to address Ms. Gilbert's comments, because I don't want her to think that there's no recourse for not attending. We made some changes recently. I appointed 2 new people. A couple people that that weren't coming to meetings were replaced or vacated their position, and it's been it's something that is addressed. Of course, commissions are never you're never done addressing commissions. You're constantly finding new good people that want to volunteer their time for the city, the benefit of the city and their community. That is the case. And the 2 newer members, I believe, have been to either every meeting since they were appointed or have missed no more than one. So I think there's been some good movement there. I don't want you to think it's not addressed or there's no recourse. You don't necessarily need to have everything written down. If someone's not living up to their requirements, you can replace them without having a stipulation for every reason why you would do that. But just to I don't know if they were appointed before or after you were elected, so I wanted to let you know.
Thank you for that clarity. Very
All
good.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, hearing no other comments, we will move on to a vote. This is on introduction of ordinance number 927. All those in favor of introducing ordinance number 927, please say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. The opinion of the chair of the ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it. And ordinance number 920, according to the motion, ordinance 927 is introduced and hereby referred to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is Thank you. Next item is resolution number 20-09, appointing a resident agent for all purposes for which such agent is required by the provisions of the Maryland Annotated Code, Local Government Article Section 1-1301. And for that, we will go to our City Administrator, Ms. Matthews.
Thank you, President Pecoraro. Maryland law requires political subdivisions in the state to designate a person to serve as the jurisdiction's resident agent upon whom process, notice, and subpoenas to custodians of public records may be served under certain circumstances. It recently came to staff's attention that as employee turnover occurred a few years ago, the city did not designate a new resident agent. The resolution before you this evening, resolution number 20-09, would correct this oversight by designating City Clerk Shannon Basosky as the resident agent for the City of Westminster. Staff therefore recommends that the Mayor and Common Council adopt resolution number 20-09, appointing Shannon Basosky as the city's resident agent and authorizing me as the City Administrator to sign and file with the State Department of Assessments and Taxation all papers necessary to effectuate Ms. Basosky's appointment. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Matthews. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number 20-09?
I'll move.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cavacci. A motion by Mr. Cavacci and a second from Ms. Gilbert. Any questions from Ms. Matthews or any discussion? Sounds pretty straightforward to me. Hearing none, we will move on to a vote. All those in favor of adopting resolution number 20-09, appointing a resident agent for all purposes, et cetera, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Ms. Fiscassi, congratulations. Move on now to unfinished business. There is no unfinished business of which the chair is aware. Does anybody have any unfinished business to raise? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. There are two items of new business. The first is approval of the mayor's reappointment of a Westminster Tree Commission member. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I'm asking for the Common Council to approve my reappointment of Richard L. Wilbur to the Westminster Tree Commission. Mr. Wilbur has served on the commission since 1998 and has done an admirable job. If approved, Mr. Wilbur's term would expire on September 28th, 2023.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve the mayor's nomination of Mr. Wilbur.
And I second it.
Thank you, Mr. Cavacci. There's been a motion by Mr. Cavacci and a second by Mr. Dayhoff to confirm the mayor's nomination of Mr. Wilbur. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote.
He's done a wonderful job.
Mr. Dayhoff.
He's done a wonderful
very
job.
Good.
He's an example of everything that we want on a city commission. He's been very committed, and he's just done a wonderful job. So we're happy to reappoint him. We're happy to have him.
Very good. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Opinion of the chair, the ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it. And Mr. Wilbur's appointment is confirmed. The next item is goes back to the construction on the new municipal offices, Warner Construction, change order number 12. Ms. Matthews.
Thank you, President Pecoraro. Change order number 12 consists of 3 separate items that are described in detail in the memorandum in your agenda packet. But in a nutshell, they consist of 2 new trench drains that we could not salvage all the original ones as originally planned, some sidewalk revisions to repair damage caused by a water main break that occurred several weeks ago, as well as some additional furring along an exterior wall. All told, these 3 items have a combined cost of $9,187.71. And I would just note that change order number 12 will not change the contract time for completion. So staff is recommending approval of change order number 12. Be happy to answer any questions that you all have.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Matthews. May I have a motion on change order number 12?
I'll move, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Cavacci. There's been a motion by Mr. Cavacci to approve construction change order number 12. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Second from Ms. Gilbert. Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Matthews or any discussion? All right, thank you. Ms. Matthews, sometime when you've got a spare moment, if you could or have someone total up what the change orders have been, I think it'd be good just to keep track of what the total dollar amount of the change orders is as we go forward, but we don't need that right now. This is fairly modest. I just was curious when you get a chance.
Certainly, I'll provide that information later this week.
Mr. President.
Thank you. That'd be great. Mr. Dayhoff.
And if that could be distributed to council members, that would be great. And if we could delineate the purpose of each change order, I would like to see a line by line inventory of what's been approved, and what's been not approved. If that's okay with you, please.
Sure, I'd be happy to provide that, Councilmember.
Okay, thank you. I call the vote.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The opinion of the chair, the ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it, and change order number 12 is approved. Thank you, Ms. Matthews. That concludes the council's business. It's now time for departmental reports. Ms. Matthews.
Thank you. Councilmember Dayhoff, would you like to give a report on behalf of the fire department this evening?
No, we'll wrap that up at the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to invite our new finance director, Ms. Colston, to provide her first report to the Mayor and Common Council.
Ms. Colston, welcome.
Thank you. I have spent Mr. President, thank you, and council members. I have spent the past 2 weeks getting situated and learning some of the ropes and learning the staff and the people that I'm working with, and everything has been wonderful. Tammy Palmer, prior finance director to myself, has been helping me gather documents and uploading them for the auditors so that we can complete the fiscal year 2020 audit. Other than that, I don't have anything else to report on.
All right, thank you very much.
Mr. Gray, on behalf of Mr. Depot, who is actually celebrating his birthday this evening with his family.
Thank you, Ms. Matthews. I just want to let the council know that your Board of Zoning Appeals will be meeting on October 6, 2020 to hear a modification to case number 2002, which involves Valvoline, which is the new proposed service center located at the corner of on Gorsuch Road and Baltimore Boulevard, right across the street from McDonald's. Also, they will be hearing case number 2004, which is for a special exception at 221 Almeyer Court to allow a daycare facility for up to 8 children. Your Planning and Zoning Commission will be meeting on October 8th, 2020 for approval of the 2019 Carroll County Planning Annual Report and the recommendation to the Mayor and Common Council regarding ordinance number 927, which was just introduced today. And also, as the City of Westminster liaison to the Carroll County Complete Count Committee, I would just like to remind anybody listening, if you have not filled out your United States Census, please do that. So the City of Westminster, Carroll County, and the state of Maryland can get our share of federal funding. Thank you, Ms. Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Ms. Matthews. Before we move on, I have a question for Mr. Gray. Mr. Gray, the Valvoline site that you mentioned, is that, he says across from the McDonald's, is that at the site of the old Westminster Veterinary or Carroll County Veterinary Hospital?
Yes, Mr. President.
All right. So there's some significant access issues there, I think. Yeah, somebody who used to use that. I hope that that's something that that they'll discuss when they deal with that.
I will bring it up to Mr. Depot. They are going to, this is for a rehearing on the subject of the applicability of zoning ordinance section 164-140. And that would be, if you don't mind, and Ms. Matthews, if you don't mind, if I could just pull that up real quick in the city code.
Well, I don't need the details. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't need the details, Mr. Gray. I just wanted to mention that issue since I'm familiar with the site. So.
Okay.
Mr. President.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr. Dayhoff.
In the past, council members have been provided copies of demolition permits that have been provided in the town. If we could resume that practice, that would be great.
And Councilmember Dayhoff, I will talk to Mr. Depot tomorrow about that.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you. All right, sorry to interrupt, Ms. Matthews.
That's all right. Thank you, Mr. Gray. Ms. Gruber?
Ms. Gruber, I think you're muted.
No, she's not.
Oh, can't hear her.
Well, she's muted, but just not by Zoom.
Yeah, Abby, I think
Yeah.
By microphone.
volume on your computer. The volume itself might be off on your computer.
I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and maybe move on to the next person. And we'll come back. We'll come back to you. That's okay. Mr. Holmes, on behalf of the Technology Department.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Matthews. The Technology Department has completed the onboarding process with our managed detection and response vendor, Arctic Wolf, and are now fully receiving the benefit of a 24/7 staff security operations center, keeping an extra eye on the city systems. And that is all that I have to report tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Mr. Glass.
Since we're dangerously close to the 8/14 deadline, I'll offer no report this evening.
Always said Mr. Glass was a smart man. Chief Ledwell.
Sorry to bother. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a reminder that we'll be posting our National Night Out videos next week in collaboration with the Carroll County Sheriff's Office. 4 of our new officers are completing field training this week and will begin solo duties and patrol. We'll be making a number of transfers based on the new officers effective October 13th, including filling the vacant positions in our downtown outreach unit and 1 detective position. Some of our sworn staff met with the Rise Up Community Nonprofit Center. We will be collaborating with Rise Up in the near future to promote fun activities involving our officers and youth at the center. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chief Ledwell. And I think we'll circle back around to Ms. Gruber and see if her mic is working.
Do you have a small whiteboard, Ms. Gruber? You can
sign language.
Did you try pressing your space bar?
Hand of mine.
Okay, all right.
We'll look forward to a report.
That's right. I'm sure she can share with us whatever she needs next time.
Thank you. I think that concludes staff's reports unless there's any questions from the Mayor and Common Council.
All right. Anything? All right. Thank you, Ms. Matthews. So that concludes the city portion of the agenda tonight. The only thing left is citizen comments. And this is usually the time when we invite the public to address the mayor and council on any issues that pertain to tonight's agenda or any other city issues. It's difficult to allow live comments online during these meetings from the public, and we will continue to host these virtual meetings until we can return to a meeting in person. In the meantime, we invite comments to be sent to our city clerk at comments@westgov.com. And at this time in every meeting, I will read out all of the comments we have received. We did receive 2 comments, which I will read right now. The first is from Mac Trimble at 800 South Burning Tree Drive, Westminster, Maryland. And he writes, I recently had a very interesting conversation with a city council about the state of our city and elected politicians and how our city is being run by bureaucrats and oligarchs. Council Leader Pecoraro has not worked for government and doesn't know what it's like to have to work for a living. Council Ben Yingling inherited his insurance business, and he now profits off folks buying insurance for when they die. Getting rich off of people losing loved ones isn't the way I want my politicians to make their money. And Council Cavacci wants us to know about his expensive cars so bad he has his portion in the background of video meetings. Our millennial millionaire mayor is worth at least $10 million, if not more, and I can't imagine how many backs he must have stepped on to get there. Can you say corruption? Our city bureaucrats are all doing very well. No, I'm sorry. Our city finances are a disaster, and we are providing a free gym to anyone and everyone to work out in, not mention the millions we are spending on a new pool in City Hall. I am sure the city oligarchs and bureaucrats are all doing very well off of that. All fat. Council Dayhoff has made his money through honest service in the USA Marine Corps. He supports getting rid of the illegal practice of providing qualified immunity to cops that undermines our Constitution and democracy. I support and endorse Kevin Dayhoff for mayor and council leader. Now, in another vein, we had another comment here. Dear Mayor and Common Council members, thank you for recognizing Direct Support Professionals Week and issuing a proclamation. Our staff members are worthy of the accolades and are local heroes by keeping the people the ARC supports engaged, healthy, and safe. Best regards, Don Rowe, Executive Director of the ARC of Carroll County. And that concludes our agenda for this evening and the meeting. Without objection, we are adjourned until our next meeting. Thank you all for watching tonight, and please stay safe and healthy.